Everybody loves Will Howard. I get that. I'm really not an exception. It's hard to not feel strongly about someone, not just with his personality, but also with the performance that he put forth in quarterbacking Ohio State to the college football championship. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. No one was punished more severely in this particular fold for something going wrong in training camp than this young man was. I was off to the sideline when it happened. Simple quarterback-center exchange from Zach Frazier to Howard. Something was a little bit off, but he scrambled out to his right and threw the ball very hard and very much on the mark to Jaylen Warren, and then just started shaking his right arm, his hand to be more precise, like as if maybe he thought he just got a stinger or something. Next thing you know, he's off of Chuck Noll Field. Next thing you know, he's out of camp because he busted his finger. Now, a busted finger isn't going to jeopardize anybody's career. In fact, Howard's back and throwing the football as we speak, so he'll obviously be fine. That said, yesterday, sources over on the south side told Chris Halleck, our beat writer, that Howard is going to be placed on injured reserve. That'll happen in all likelihood today. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to look at where he is and where he's heading, not just this season, but going into the future. And again, just being blunt, why this really hurt for this to happen to him. To start, by waiting until today to put Howard on IR, they don't have to say whether it's just putting him on IR or with a designation to return. If it's the latter, he's back in 4 weeks. If it's not, well, I don't know how far anybody can milk a broken finger, but I also don't know that he has to be activated, meaning for his sake or the team's sake. Remember, when he was drafted, which I'll remind didn't happen until the 6th round, Art Rooney himself stated in an interview that he saw this, and they saw this, management, as a development year for Howard. They had zero intention of having him compete for anything in the 2025 NFL season. A lot of fans did. They didn't. So in theory, they could just have Howard sit out the whole thing and have him do whatever learning or advancement he does behind the scenes. That's where they'd have to be, by the way, because if you're on IR, you can't practice. Now, let's take it the other way. Let's say that he's put on IR with the designation to return. If you activate him after 4 weeks, he becomes, obviously, your number 3 quarterback. Then you're going to have to get rid of Skylar Thompson in some form or other, barring injuries elsewhere on the quarterback depth chart. And then you're going to have somebody on the quarterback depth chart in the top 3 slots, the 3 that matter, who you have already made up your mind is not going to be a contributor for you this season. Now, will he get to practice? Sure. He'll be practicing, though, as the quarterback of the scout team. So he'd be mimicking that week's opponent, which, is it being part of an NFL practice? Sure. Is it better than sitting up in the classroom by yourself while all the boys are downstairs practicing? Absolutely. For the individual, for his spirits. Is it better for the Steelers than to have Thompson still around? I don't have these answers. I'm laying out the scenario for you. And I'll go further. I'll go to next spring and summer when Howard just might have undergone the longest and most mentally challenging healing of a broken finger in NFL history, and he can resume in OTAs throwing a football. in anger in practices with his teammates. But you know what's going to happen between now and then, right? Oh, yeah, there's going to be another quarterback selected, and it's going to be, you can take this to the bank, in the first round, maybe high up in the first round, depending on how ambitious everybody gets. And whoever this new young man might be, he's going to be introduced right here in the city of Pittsburgh, on a big stage over on the North Shore. He's going to get the bro hug from Raj. He's going to be standing there while the entire mass of black and gold humanity in front of him is chanting out, "Here we go, Steelers." And this is going to go on for like 10 minutes before Mel Kiper can even get another word in. And you know who nobody's going to be thinking about in that moment? That's right, pal, Will Howard. Because as amiable as he appeared to be in his interviews, and he actually is, as fun as it was to go back and dissect his film from the championship game against Notre Dame, there will be a shiny new toy in our midst, and we will have had zero memories of Howard doing anything in a Steelers uniform. That is a tough broken finger. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Kyle, who says, "Hi, DK. My understanding as to why Beanie Bishop was always a likely cut is that he doesn't play special teams. What does that mean exactly? He could technically play special teams. Is it a function of size? Is it a lack of want to? Is it a lack of experience, which would seem easy to overcome? That he doesn't play special teams feels like an arbitrary but common statement. I just want to understand more." What I would come back here with first off, Kyle, is it sounds to me like you're underplaying what's involved in special teams. They're not, in the modern NFL, what they used to be. They're not the place where you relegate your reserves or your fringe guys or your backups just because you can't have the starters doing their jobs. They're players who have specific skill sets, specific personalities, and real experience. You want an example here? It's Carson Bruner. I haven't talked a lot about him. I was sure at the time that he was drafted you were going to have the usual charges of, oh, they got him because he's Mark Bruner's son, the same way that Connor Hayward's only on Steelers roster because he's Cam's brother. But then a funny thing happened. In the preseason games, which everybody watched, everybody got to see Bruner making multiple plays. And eventually, he beat out Mark Robinson, which I thought was a little bit of an upset, because Robinson, although he wasn't going to make it at his natural position, inside linebacker, his base position, if you want to call it that, since he couldn't cover. But Robinson had an amazing killer instinct when it came to tackles and to closing, even on those occasions when he was used your regular defense. Bruner is and was a special teams player. Understand that. They do exist. When he was at the University of Washington, Pro Football Focus gave him a grade of 45.8, which is really low in their world, as a linebacker, but 75.4 on special teams. He was named the school's special teams MVP. And when he was drafted, after they got past the part about who his dad was, they let you know exactly that. On the night that the kid was drafted, he told those of us at Steelers HQ, and I'm quoting directly here, "Special teams is something I started playing at the University of Washington early in my career. It's something that I embrace and I really fell in love with. It's something I've been able to do my whole career and excel at, and I know that's something I'm going to be able to bring to Pittsburgh for sure. That's the position. That's why he was acquired. And what he had to do in training camp in the preseason was go out there and show that that was justified. Well, you saw it. You don't need me to tell you. So I'll swing back to Beanie here and reiterate that I think you're hearkening back to a different era of football. I don't know how far back. I mean, there was a time when Chuck Noll was handling the special teams coaching himself. But that phase of football is not what it was. They are looking for players who can execute those plays. And I get that's not a good enough explanation for some. I get that I mentioned Connor Hayward already, but there's a real bristling that I can detect from a lot in the fan base when you bring him up and say, well, he's really good on special teams. Okay, and as if it doesn't matter. When I was saying through camp that Ben Skoranek was a lock to make this team as a wide receiver, it wasn't because I thought he'd be WR2. It's because he does legitimate things on special teams. Miles Killebrew isn't going to be anybody's answer at the safety position, including in a depth role, but he is who he is on special teams. These are real live football players doing real live football things, and pardon the pun, but they are specialists. They're good at that thing. I appreciate the question. I really do. I always welcome the opportunity to get into something like that. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Steelers. The team is off today and for the next 4 days, but we will have a double shot of Steelers at 4 p.m. Eastern. Today, that'll be on our DK Pittsburgh Sports app, which I know you have already dutifully downloaded, and you're just waiting for an opportunity to email me and ask for the massive, ridiculous discount on our premium version of the app that you couldn't possibly say no to. Email me directly. I will answer you personally. DK@DKPittsburghSports.com. Spell all of that out. I can promise you'll be glad you did. Hope to see everybody this afternoon.